I have 6 rules that I live by with every single decision that I make about my health, which does impact my weight. And they don't match what you may have heard from your doctor or your nutritionist, but they work for me, right? And I use these rules because my health is my number one priority. These rules serve to keep me on track, and they also serve to help me to navigate situations that could put my health and my weight at risk. So to fully understand why I have these rules, first I want to tell you a little bit about how December used to look for me, because it looks different now. So the last month of the year, you're not, or at least I was never at goal weight. I would always get to the last month of the year and be like, how did I promise myself at the beginning of the year that I was going to be, 20, 30, 40 pounds lighter, whatever I would tell myself. And then by the end of the year, I'm still the same weight. And the problem was that I would repeat the same promise to myself to lose weight and I wouldn't succeed at it. I would repeat that promise every single year. And I would find different diets that I was going to use, right? And I would say, okay, this year I'm going to do this diet or whatever. And then, or I would try to say, and my favorite one was to say, I'm going to be more active. I'm going to do more activities. And every year I didn't do more activities. I didn't stick to the diet. I didn't do the things that were meant to keep me healthy, first of all, but also to help me to lose weight. So obviously, if you just keep gaining and gaining and gaining weight, which is what I was doing, health issues could be brewing under the surface. And that was scary to me because, well, first of all, I had a young child at the time, and I really wanted to be there for her, and I wanted to be there for, potential grandchildren and all the things, right? All the events that are going to happen in her life. Not to mention I wasn't done living my life yet. So these medical issues that I was pretty sure were brewing, because looking at my family history and seeing all the things that they were suffering with, scary. The other problem with December for me is that food is more on my mind. I don't usually think about food that much, but when there's a Christmas party, several Christmas parties coming up, right? Because I used to work I used to have a job, right? So lots of Christmas parties coming up. And then I would have the family Christmas party. And then there was the New Year's party. And there was all the things, the New Year's Eve party so December was a month where there was going to be a lot of food that I possibly would be eating. And I had this fear of overeating. I don't know if you guys have that, but you kind of you want to have fun. You want to enjoy junk food like everybody else, but you don't want to overeat. And so, December became a month where it was on my mind. What I weighed, what I'm eating, all these things were on my mind just because it was the holiday season. But I can't actually fully blame the holidays. If I back up a few months, as soon as it starts raining and getting cold, my activities become less enjoyable, right? Because first of all, I like to be on my longboard. First of all, my longboard wheels are not supposed to be in the rain. So right away, that's not able to be done. But second of all, even something like riding my bike or going for a walk, I have to bring an umbrella. And I'm not going to ride my bike in the rain because my helmet has holes in it and my hair would get wet. So can I just point, and it's colder outside. So if I get wet, then it's going to be cold. So just the fact that November-ish, it starts to be not fun to do my activities. Again, December, November, I'm more thinking about food because I'm probably going to be eating more because I'm not outside as much, and problems. A lot of these activities I'm talking about are, well, they're free once you have the thing, right? We go into December, January now looking at, I need to pay more money so that I can ski or to go tubing with the kids or on my own. And can I just point out that skiing and tubing aren't around the corner? we have to drive an hour to get to them, which means now they're not things that we do every week. Well, no, they could be weekly, but they're not every things we do every few days. And so weekly, if I'm only looking forward to doing something once a week, how much fun am I really having? Do you see the problem that starts happening? Like all the fun things, right? And if I choose to do something indoor, that'll be closer to my home and maybe take me 10 minutes to get there. So that's fine. So, things like going to the gym or indoor pool or some kind of other indoor sport, maybe working out if that's something that you like to do. I don't like to do that. Climbing. These are all things that you could do that are fun and absolutely close to the house. But now we had other things that are really, really close by, like restaurants and movies and watching TV, watching YouTube. And, you end up spending a lot of your time I should talk about myself. Spending a lot of the time entertaining myself actually in my house, right? Watching movies or sitting down, because we would go out to the movies, but you're sitting down, right? So you're not moving as much as you're moving in the summer. And of course you need to eat. So going out for a meal is fun. So we do that, but you're not doing as much physical activity, stuff that makes you sweat, as you were doing in the summer. Even now, I've been feeling it, like the fact that I'm not outside as much. I feel like, like not as lubricated, let's say, because when you're moving around, you're moving your joints and you just feel good. And back then, when I had the extra 70 pounds on me, I really felt it. And the problem is that although activities are only 20% of what you're going to weigh, right? So we know that food is 80%. Food. And so right away, I'm looking at December. I didn't know this at the time, but I know it today. Worried about my food. And I should have been super worried because that was actually 80%. I thought the activities was the reason that I wasn't going to be doing well. I thought, oh my goodness, I have nothing to do. I hate the gym. I'm going to end up gaining weight. But no, it was actually because I'm less happy. I have fewer activities. I'm just not happy. When I'm not doing stuff, I don't feel great. Right. But think about yourself. Even if it's not physical activities, maybe you paint or maybe you just like going out and seeing friends, or like when you're not doing the thing that you love to do, maybe play music. It's not as happy. You're not enjoying yourself. And because for my life, the thing that I was doing the most always, and this is going back to when I was a little child, I don't think there was ever a time that I wasn't fighting my mom to get outside. It's always been a thing. So it's still a thing. I do things that I find fun. Maybe for you, it's different. Maybe you're in the summer, you're gardening. Maybe in the summer, you're swimming. But we like the summer because first of all, it's toasty warm. But second of all, there's more things that are easy for us to do. Now, I don't want you to believe, and I'm not trying to give the impression that in the summer, there aren't still problems, right? I'm still overweight in the summer, right? I passed through the entire year with this problem. So obviously in the summer, there's just different challenges. I'll touch that for a second. The bathing suits that I don't want to put on because I'm overweight and that makes me feel bad. And there's summer treats like fruit that a lot of people like fruit. I didn't have that as a problem, but what I had as a problem was popsicles and ice cream, right? What I had as a problem was barbecue, right? There's like nice sweet coverings on meats and stuff that people eat, especially ribs. So there's so many places where I look back at what I was doing and I can see the problem and why my weight was rising, right? Because our bodies, first of all, they're made to move. And I was doing that in the summer, but you have half the year where I wasn't doing that before. Well, it took me a little while to figure that part out, but half the year where you're not moving as much, and you have for sure, in my case, November, December, and then don't forget at the tail end of the winter, you have April, May, sometimes even March, where you're not able to, skiing is not good, the snow's no good, but you haven't created the story where we can be outside. And so No bicycles in the snow. It doesn't make sense. So there's too many problems. But our bodies are made to move, right? And our minds are made to be challenged, right? We want to think. We want to explore things. And like when you're outside doing stuff, we think it's only physical. But like, for example, when you ski, you have to navigate all the bumps and twists and turns you need to see ahead of you. Your brain is working in those stories. When I'm riding my bike or when I'm rollerblading or even longboarding or whatever I'm doing, summer or winter, you're navigating it. You're constantly thinking, and like your mind is being challenged. Now, people like to challenge their mind with painting and reading and all these other things too. And yes, when I do inside stuff, I do challenge myself that way. But it's really cool when you're doing them both at the same time. We like having fun and feeling good. We like it. We like it. It's something that we chase, wellness warrior. And happiness allows us to manage our food a bit better because we're engaged. We're doing the thing and we're enjoying something. We're enjoying an activity. We're enjoying being with people. We're enjoying something, and it's not food. And we're enjoying it because we like it, right? We aren't just eating because we're bored. And yes, that's what we're talking about, right? Emotional eating. We're going to food because we don't have something to do, because winter is dark and long and cold and uncomfortable and boring for many of us. And I realized that I ate more junk food over the winter because, especially during the week, by the time I got home from work, it was dark. And it's late, especially in the job that I had. So sometimes it was just enough time to grab my daughter from grandma's, get her home, do a little bit of something with her and get her to bed. And then it's dark outside and my evening is right. And I'm bored. And so it's so simple, but watching TV, so simple, eating something while I'm watching TV, even simpler. Add that little extra, right? But it wasn't helping my weight. It wasn't helping my health. It needed to stop. And it wasn't until, I would say, 6-ish years ago that I even figured out, that I even learned that it was actually the food that was 80%. So this has been new information for me because I didn't know that. And if I didn't know it, I know there's lots of people out there that don't know it. So that's why we're talking about this today. Those fun foods that we eat, and we eat them because they make us feel good. And that's a reality, right? There's the physiological, they make me feel good, but there's a catch, because that thing that makes me feel good, that stimulates my brain and results in me overeating as well. So it makes me feel physiologically good. You're not making that up. It's not your imagination, but it also makes me overeat, because in order for me to get that feeling, I need to eat more and I need to eat more and I need to eat more. And that's problematic because, wait, right? When I started keto, I had withdrawal. And I realized that I actually was chasing those foods, right? It wasn't just that I like them. Because if you have withdrawal, that means you don't have control. That means you're eating because you have to, right? To stimulate, not because you like what you're eating. And sure, don't get me wrong. What I was eating tasted good, but that's not the point here, right? The point is, if I'm eating it because my brain is pushing me to go get it because I need to get that hit, that's not like. That's chasing. And we're out of control. I was out of control. I'll talk about myself. I was out of control. And so I needed to have rule number 1, which is I only eat healthy keto foods. All right. Once I learned that those foods were causing this problem, once I learned that food was causing me to be overweight, now I had to say, okay, moving forward, I only eat healthy keto foods. And my keto journey only started after months of research, like months, because first of all, couldn't believe, was shocked to learn that sugar could have been caused. Well, the reason I found keto was because I had a hip problem and I had an inflammation problem. I figured that part out after months. And then when I was trying to figure out how to solve so my keto journey started with a lot of research because there was so much information coming at me like crazy fast that didn't make sense. And I wanted to be sure what I was doing was going to make my health worse. One thing that I learned that completely changed the way I looked at eating was that insulin rises when you eat a lot of sugar. And so, I mean, that wasn't surprising to me because diabetes, right? But what was surprising to me was that if you eat anything, insulin rises. So protein and fat also raise insulin. That was shocking to me because so a lot of the channels that I was watching to learn how to do keto were talking about how you can eat fat bombs, how you can eat, keto friendly cookies that were like no sugar or very low sugar, and you wouldn't have a problem. But then when I was doing more research and I realized that no matter what I eat, my insulin will rise. As if my insulin rises, and it rises enough, my body will go into fat storage mode. And had doctors like Dr. Ekberg talking about how because you're metabolically challenged, the problems that you're having, your insulin is not getting back to baseline. That's part of the reason that you're gaining weight in the first place. So your insulin's not getting back to baseline. Well, then if I'm constantly still eating, right, my insulin is going to keep rising. So all of a sudden I realized that if I keep eating these low carb fun things, right? If I keep eating snacks, then even though they're keto friendly foods, they're going to push my insulin to rise, and I'm still creating a problem for myself because I am metabolically damaged, obviously, because I'm 70 pounds overweight and that's like part of the definition, right? So I was still pushing myself towards diabetes. I was still causing problems for myself. So rule number 2 came about, that I only eat meals, right? Hungry, eat a meal. Hungry, eat a meal. That's how it works for me. Another thing that I learned was that most healthy adults with no metabolic issues whatsoever, right, can actually manage to be in a ketogenic state, 50 grams of carbs or less per day. Some of them even more than that, but keto is defined as 50, and most healthy people with no problem, 50 grams of carbs, and they're fine. So they don't need to do the 20, right? Like the rest of us. Like the keto doctors say, you need to do 20, obviously, because usually when we're starting this process, we're starting it because we don't feel good. We're starting it because we're overweight. We're starting it because we have some kind of health problem. And so, like, I often have people asking me the question, like, if their kids should be keto. And I keep saying, I think our kids could be low carb and be fine because like low carb is like 125 because they're not damaged yet, right? At least most of them, I don't think, are damaged yet. So if I'm talking about kids now, like, under the age of like 12, if they were low carb, they'd be fine. I think. This is me guessing, not a doctor. So do your research. But I think my kids, if I could do it over, I would have just kept them low carb. Once you start having skin problems, once you start having weight problems, once you start having like internal damage, now you need to do that 50 or less, right? That's what I think. But even people who only have like minor things, like a little bit of skin issues or maybe a little bit of whatever, apparently 50 works for them. Well, let me tell you. You need to do 20 to let your body be in ketosis. That's what this whole keto diet is about, right? You want your body to be in ketosis because when it's in ketosis, that means that you're using fat for fuel. And your body, and it doesn't mean you never use carbs, by the way. Of course, we always use some carbs. We use both. But the primary fuel source becomes fat because that's what our body actually naturally wants to do. And what I figured out for myself, because I was like 20 grams of carbs or less, right? That's what you're supposed to do. So I was eating right up to 20 and even sometimes going to 22 or 23 and still lost weight and still had, everything was going in the right direction until it wasn't, right? Until all of a sudden I realized that my typical meal that was bringing me up to the edge of 20, I was feeling my joint pains again. And eventually what I figured out was that my number isn't actually 20. It's 18 carbs a day. So again, how metabolically damaged was I that 18 wasn't my number? Or sorry, 20 wasn't my number. It was 18. And the question is, how metabolically damaged might anyone else be? Like, are you metabolically damaged, Wellness Warrior? Like, have you even checked to see, like, eating up to 20 and we have stalls and we get frustrated and all these things are happening. And do we stop and question that maybe 20 isn't my number? Now for me, 18. And so I made a rule for myself. And you would think the rule would be don't go past 18. That's not the rule because that rule didn't make sense to me. Here's my rule. Protein. So rule number 3, protein and fat are food. Vegetation is for fun. And if you have some veg, that's fine. It needs to stay under 18, 100%. But if I don't have veg, that's even better, right? So in my rule book, vegetation is not food. It's for fun. It's for entertainment. It's whatever. And because I don't eat for fun 90% of the time, it's not on my plate. So as most of you know, I have veg twice a week, right? Because there's 2 meals where I have an avocado. And that's just the way the meal has always been made, so I still make it that way. Every other place that I was having vegetation, I took it off my plate. It wasn't helping my body. It wasn't helping me. It doesn't give me anything I can't get anywhere else. Not interested. Now, since being on this keto journey that I'm on, I've noticed that every time I get upset, I want to have cashews. And in my history, it wasn't cashews, right? It would have been I want to have chocolate, or in the beginning of my keto life, it was, I want to have peanut butter cookies, right? It doesn't matter what the I want to have is. The question is, why is it that when I get upset, the first thought I have is eat something? And I'll tell you, to this day, I still have the thought. It's still there. It's like, oh, cashews would be good right now. These things aren't hard to get, right? I mean, as I'm driving to my office, I can pop into the store, grab some cashews, and it's so tricky and dangerous, and it's there, and it drives me crazy. And right, and how do I help myself to understand that's not the right thing to do, right? How is eating cashews helping my upset? That's the part that sucks. It kind of does, and then it messes with you. How does it help your upset? I said at the beginning of the video, or earlier, that when you eat these things, you feel better. Physically, you feel good, right? Because that little bit of sugar, and I know I say a little bit of sugar because to most people it's a little bit. To me, when I eat cashews, they taste sweet in my mouth. So to me, it's a lot of sugar. It does get me that brain reaction. It does make me feel better. I love it. Oh my goodness. And then what happens? My joints are hurting and I'm not happy. And maybe if I do it long enough, my weight's changing and problems. I'm causing internal damage because I'm eating more sugar than problems. Like, this is not anything that anybody should do. When you have a hard day, avoidance is never the answer. And eating junk because I had a hard day, because I had a problem, an argument with someone, or whatever went wrong, isn't helping me, because it's just hurting my body, because I was upset for probably what would have been 20 minutes if I had just let it be upset. And I probably could have solved that thing if I really would have put my mind to solving that thing. So rule number 4 is I solve problems instead of self-soothing with food. And I'm lucky because I work for myself now, right? And that means that I can have lunch whenever I want. But what about supper? What about breakfast, right? With my family. So I don't eat breakfast, so I don't have breakfast with my family. And that was a decision I made years ago, right? So this is something that I've been doing before I ever touched a keto lifestyle. So that's fine. But let's talk about lunch and supper. Many people feel obligated to eat meals when they're not hungry, right? And because of conditioning, many of us feel hungry at certain times of day, even though our weight suggests that we might not need to eat that meal, that we could be fine if we skip that meal, right? We have energy on us that we could be using. But no, we feel hungry and we eat, right? So we've been trained to eat at certain times in certain situations. We eat dessert because it's there, not because we're hungry. And again, all these extra meals and treats and snacks and all the things raise our insulin, sometimes spike it when you're talking about desserts, snacks, and treats, spike our insulin and add unnecessary weight to us, right? I mean, we're heavier than we need to be. And in my case, because I haven't eaten breakfast for years, right? And because dropping lunch was easier because I'm at my office and it's my schedule, so I don't need to have lunch. It allowed me to eat the one meal I do eat, which is supper, with my family, right? So rule number 5 became, I only eat when I'm hungry, because that's the best way to me to make sure that I'm not spiking insulin or adding energy that will turn into fat unnecessarily. So let's go back to the part where we're talking about it's winter, right? That's how this conversation started. In the winter, the question is, what was I doing and what am I now doing with my spare time? All right? Boredom is a huge contributor to overeating. That emotional eating piece of the puzzle that we try to ignore. We try to say, it's fun to do these things. No, you're eating because you're bored, right? If you don't have a plan to entertain yourself, then you are planning to entertain yourself by overeating, Wellness Warrior. And I want you to think about, what are you doing to make sure that that's not the case? Because years ago, I can't talk about myself. Years ago, when the kids were younger, we were busy, keeping them busy, right? I still found time to overeat after they went to bed. But most of my day, I wasn't overeating as much as they get older, as they are off seeing friends and, entertaining themselves. Now I need to entertain myself, and eat fun things for some reason became a thing, right? And then we have the winter stuff because it's winter and I just don't have things to do. That was a problem. So let's talk about what I originally did. Go in the Wayback Machine. When I first realized that being bored in the winter was dangerous for me, I introduced skiing and snowboarding, right? But again, those things are far away and it's only once a week. And yes, I'll say even till today, I like the fact that I enjoy winter now because I get to ski and snowboard and go tubing with the kids and that kind of stuff. I do like, they're 18 last year. We still went tubing. It was amazing. It was cool. I hope we go again this year. I do like that kind of stuff, but that's once a week. Is that enough for me to feel like my week is great? And I feel like that's part of the mistake we're making, is that we need something in our daily that's still entertaining and hopefully gets us moving, right? And that's where things like badminton came in for me at one point. So again, I'm going to go back there, back in my history. I was playing badminton 3 times a week and, I was feeling great because my body's moving, and we know what that means, right? My body's moving. I'm going to feel good. But then kids again come along and I can't be out of the house every evening. So I stopped going to badminton. What's the thing that I'm doing or was doing in my everyday that was helping me to have fun? And this is where I made the mistake, because I thought the fun thing I was doing had to be physically moving and active and whatever. And it doesn't, because 80% of your weight is food, right? So yes, I need to move during my day, because if I'm sitting all the time, I'm not going to feel great. But my fun thing does not need to be the moving thing. My guitar is part of my fun thing now. my artsy things that I do around the house where and some of those artsy things do get me to move because I'm moving. I like building things. So I'm moving heavier things around, but sometimes not. Sometimes I'm painting, but it's something that I look forward to doing, and it's fun. I'm constantly looking for fun things to do because I know that boredom leads to snacking, Wellness Warrior. And I want you to understand that if you are bored, you're gonna snack. And so actually, the final rule that I have for myself that helps me to stay healthy, that helps me to stay at my healthy weight, is that I do fun things. That's rule number 6, right? I do fun things with activities, hobbies, and with people. I do fun things so that food is no longer a fun thing for me. And Wellness Warrior, I hope that you were writing these things down, right? Because they're simple and they're actionable and they're powerful. If you get the food right, you'll be able to enjoy your life. And to help you get that food right, I have a video on the screen and in the description that I'm going to have for you to get those carb cravings under control. If you got value out of this video, I really would appreciate it if you watch another video. That sends a huge signal to YouTube that this video was valuable. That costs nothing, but it really does help me out. If you want to financially contribute to the videos, I have a link in the description. It's going to be the first link that you can donate whatever you feel is appropriate for the value that you just got. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you in the next video.